Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TED experts in under 5 minutes. In this week's Climate Quickie, we hear from MP for Tottenham and Foreign Shadow Secretary David Lammy. David shares why it's vital for us to connect the dots between climate and racial justice. He explains why we cannot put climate in a corner and why it's linked so deeply to all the other issues we see today across poverty, inequality, identity, race and gender. Let's head over to David to explain a bit more. Enjoy and stay curious.
So the truth is, my experience of people who are poor, people who have trouble paying the bills, people who are being harassed by the police, people who are worried about where food's coming from because they've just lost their job. And, you know, I'm thinking of a lot of black people in that position, is they haven't got time to worry about what appears to be big picture policy, because there are a lot of daily stresses. And that's certainly the context in which I grew up. And so that's one conversation. And the other conversation is if the climate emergency is all about carbon emissions, if it's about the Green New Deal, but you never connect that to equity, to jobs that matter to people in their communities, that seem real, then of course black people aren't going to be thinking about this, which is why I did my TED Talk. One, to connect the dots, to challenge both those who are in, environmental organisations, those who are raising their voice about these issues, to remind them that this, in the end, is not just about saving the planet. It's about the people on the planet, and the people on the planet bearing the brunt of it are black. But also to challenge the black community that if we are protesting for George Floyd, and if we are using the motif, I can't breathe, then please remember that there are thousands of people who can't breathe because they are literally being choked in their communities, or they are experiencing drought, flood, pollution in the global south. And so it's to connect the dots. It's not to exceptionalize one group. I've campaigned as a result of George Floyd's murder, but I'm not going to exceptionalize the African-American experience and not say that black people that die in Darfur, which is the first climate change war, if you like, or civil war, if you like, are somehow less important. They are as important. And until we live in a world where that is fully understood, none of us are truly free. We had a wonderful young woman, Ellie Kisser-Deborah, who died, barely into her teens, died because of pollution in this city, in part because of the emissions. You could go to the United States, you could look at zoning policy and why homes for traditional African Americans were in the poorest areas, the most pollutant areas of American cities. You just have to go to Kingston, Jamaica to see the pollution in that city. Yeah. Who drives the most pollutant cars? Who are the people who are working in agriculture and exposing themselves to insecticides, things like that they shouldn't be, or who are doing really tough jobs and being exposed to pollutants of all kinds? Who are the cleaners in London? What's the face of those cleaners? If you get on the tube at 6:30 in the morning, who is coming home from work? Look at the people who died during the beginning of this crisis. The face of those care workers, the face of those bus drivers that were dropping dead because of the viral load. What is the face of inequality in our country? And inequality is inextricably linked to the coronavirus. If we want to talk about a decolonized curriculum or a Britain in which we no longer have statues celebrating people like Edward Colston. What was that colonisation about? It was about extraction. It was about forced labour, a forced labour that gave the world cotton, gave the world sugar, mining in countries like South Africa, the Congo. Countries fought over because of what was in the ground. And the debate that we're having today about the oil industry, fossil fuels, the extractive economy is inextricably linked to the labour of black and brown people. So it's kind of know your history and know what climate is really about, because it's the dismantling of that we're up for. And when we talk about a New Deal and a Green New Deal, who is it that's going to get those new jobs? You know, who needs those new jobs? What does equity look like if we're serious about who should benefit? So on many, many layers, I think that this is a story that we have to connect to race and racial identity and to the Black Lives Matter cause. If Black Lives Matter, then you've got to deal with the climate emergency.
Thanks for listening to this Quickie.
This episode was created by our usual superstar podcast team and supported by TEDx London's headline partner, City. Until next time,
Stay curious.